And we are back, Simon, with
Yo.
with a new scintillating episode.
Yes. Yes. Flabbergasting.
I like that. With a new flabbergasting episode today, and I'm not gonna tell you which day is today because I have a very bad habit of releasing episodes in very distinct times of the month. But you know
Mm,
what? Actually, it's a method to my madness because I was looking at the dates of when I released, and I always release in the beginning of the month, in the middle of the month. So
okay.
without knowing, I have a cadence of
Yeah.
releasing episodes. And
It's
this
things fall naturally into rhythm.
exactly, but we all planned it very minutiously. Actually,
Yes.
everything is everything. We have a very organized way of doing this
We do.
podcast.
We do. We have
Everything
an army of people working on this.
exactly. And
So how are
because
you? What's
I'm
going on?
good, I'm good. I got some feedback that we're chatting too much, so I'm planning to chat a
Yeah.
lot
We have
today.
we have to chat a lot now.
Let's make the smallest small talk. I'm
Yes.
good. I'm good, Simo. I have to go to the dentist, but Julian just messaged me to tell me why am I going to the dentist because so today is Wednesday and on Friday I have to fly to Copenhagen for Major Camp Copenhagen. And apparently if you extract your tooth, you have to wait for some time before you fly again. So I guess I have to cancel my dentist appointment because my priorities are
Yeah.
straight.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
heard that, Steen Rasmussen? You heard that, Yomar?
I've
So
never heard like I didn't know that. I did not know that.
I
I
had
like
no
I
idea.
know that you have to be careful like in general after surgery, but I guess that maybe it's because it's is it the cabin pressure or just it's the dry air or something that
That's what it
interferes with the
says.
blood clotting or something?
So I'm actually Googling it right now, and it says if you're planning to fly after your tooth extraction, it's best to wait at least 2 days or more before boarding a plane. Why? 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 Because the changes in altitude and air pressure can cause you to have an unpleasant and uncomfortable experience in the dry socket. I don't even know what a dry socket is, but
Oh, dry socket is nasty. It's when like when you have a when the tooth is extracted and the blood doesn't clot properly. Like
oh,
it doesn't it basically just doesn't heal, but it's a I've I know that my parents have had
oh
tooth
no.
extractions and so they know about it.
Well, I guess I'm not gonna go to the dentist
Yeah.
because I would piss off way too many people.
But now you're going to piss off your dentist.
He's
That's the
fine.
last person in the world you want to piss off, by the way.
Yeah, it's what it
Actually,
is.
if the dentist is anything like me with their work, I think they'll be happy that they don't have to work on another
Exactly.
client.
I love when people cancel on me.
Yeah, for sure. It's the
Oh my
best.
god, this is the best. Exactly.
Yeah.
I especially when I have to go out of the house and it's like, oh, let's go and
Yeah.
have some coffee, and then last minute, I love it. It's like, hey,
Yeah,
I'm
me
so
too.
sorry, I cannot make it. I'm like,
Yeah, it's really
well,
good for the antisocial types. And
I
also
love
like so canceling is best, then postponing like at least 2 weeks so it's out of mind. That's the second best. Third best is postponing it to tomorrow or something. Then you have at least a little breather.
yeah.
But yeah, canceling is the best. My friends, if you ever book something with either one of us, please don't hesitate to cancel. Like we're cool. We're cool with that. We'll get our day off
Oh my
thanks to
god.
that.
Yeah, I love a good canceling.
Yeah,
And
good cancel is just the best. It's like cancel culture, but in the way that it's supposed to be.
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. But how about you? What have you been up to with because
Oh, it's
I
been such a busy time. So a lot of stuff going on in the Google world. So I've had a lot of content to write and things to test out
yes.
with, and then we're maybe even today, which we will not divulge what date it is, but maybe even today we'll be releasing the new version of our website. So that's been keeping us really, really busy, trying to get everything to work. It's going to be a really nice, nice redesign, and hopefully we'll make it easier to both use Simmer and to buy our courses. But just so ridiculously busy.
I'm excited that you've been talking about it for a few episodes, so
Yeah.
really looking forward to it. And then, as you promised, that technical marketing one-on-one course.
Oh, that's not coming. No, 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 no,
Uh,
no. That's going to take a couple of months at least. Yeah, it's getting more and more ambitious every day. So we're like, yeah, I'm writing the content now, and it just, yeah, it's turning into a big thing after all. But it's still going to be free, but it's just turning into a big thing. It's I want to do it. We want to do it really, really well, and so we're not gonna compromise the relaunch of the site with that. But I also started working on a rewrite of the server side tagging course. So I've shot most of the videos now. It's going to be about 50% completely new stuff, and then everything else has been reorganized. And I, of course, have to reshoot everything to work with our new audio and video quality stuff. So just it's I'm really busy, but it's good busy. It's not like doing stuff that I hate. So it's good busy.
But tell me more about the what you posted yesterday about Google Tag Manager.
Yeah, so an interesting little addition to server-side GTM was the addition of regular expressions. So for anybody who uses JavaScript, regex is of course comes part of the package, except we don't have it in web templates, but that's another discussion. But in server-side GTM, regex has to be like deployed into the server software itself. So they're using RE2, which is this regex flavor that Google uses most often in when almost wherever they use regex. And so now we have new template APIs for actually building regular expressions with, which means that, for example, some of the key features of server-side GTM has been to sanitize parameters, for example. You want to remove sensitive information. You want to look for certain patterns and remove them. And before, it was really difficult to do because we couldn't run regular expression checks. Regular expressions are really good for picking up patterns in text. So if we wanted to, for example, search for an email address in our page location because we want to prevent Google from receiving that because that's against their terms of service, we would have to write a very complicated search function in template JavaScript. But now that we have regex, we just write a pattern using a regular expression, and it will kind of flag all the instances where email addresses are found. So it's just a very welcome addition. The reason why it's so restricted, so why it's built into an API rather than as a native method, and the reason we don't have it in web container templates yet, is because regular expressions have this catastrophic cascading feature where if you write them in a suboptimal way, the performance cost can be quadratic. So it basically means that it turns into a very exponentially more and more complex the longer the sentence you're looking for, especially if you're using these so-called zero-length assertions, which are like look-aheads and look-behinds. So you're determining a pattern based on what it's surrounded by. And for every character that the pattern goes through, it has to do the same calculation. What am I surrounded by? What am I surrounded by? It's like writing a SQL query where for every single item you do complicated window functions, and the larger the window, it gets more and more complicated. So that was a very geeky walkthrough of what was released, but that's the reason we don't have free access to regular expressions and custom templates. They want to prevent you from killing your server software by writing regular expression patterns that cascade into just such big performance cost that your computation requirements are killed. It's an extreme example, but the fact that it's doable is why they want to template these things so that Google can restrict what can be done with regex in those servers.
And I saw everyone is very happy about this because I saw your post on LinkedIn and everyone was like, "Yay!"
Well, I don't know how much of that is happy about the feature or just happy that GTM is releasing new stuff. I think that's a big part of it.
I mean, I've seen a lot of questions lately about the GTM roadmap, as you probably noticed them too
Yeah.
in the forums, and I haven't seen one of those yet. I hope I would see a GTM roadmap.
I don't think there is such a thing. I know that even partners we don't have one. we
Yeah,
like we have access to whenever they have new alpha features they come for testing. I did see someone posting that in their opinion GTM is abandonware at this point, and I'm just kind of giddy inside because I know that there's so much cool stuff coming that I can't talk about. But it's just fun to see how they will be positively surprised, hopefully in the coming weeks.
yeah, I'm super excited to see more on
Yeah.
that. I also got very close to something as close because I don't understand half of the stuff you just said earlier, but it's I try to look smart. But the closest I got to something like that is when Julian showed me how to use Splice.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh shit, this is it. I was like, this is like querying, but in JavaScript. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this is cool. Uh,
Yeah. Array methods are the best.
yeah, I was excited about that. That's the closest I got. But now, these days, yeah, I'm struggling with other things. Your GA4 article also very well received. It went semi viral. I think it was viral on LinkedIn. It was
Yeah, that was
like,
kind of weird
right?
because it was. Well, I told you this that the so let me just
Lay it,
lay out what
please lay
happened.
it.
Um, so I have been of course, like everybody else in this industry, and especially anybody else working with GA, I have been thinking about GA for a long time, trying to figure out what it is and how it works with the kind of problems and use cases that we have in our daily jobs. And one of the reasons I've decided not to build any course content around GA4, well, there's a lot of good competition, like Krista and Julius are putting out, and Jeff are putting out amazing courses, so I don't want to compete with that even. But also that I don't want to create content that I would have to redo every 2 weeks, because it's a work in progress. And so I have this thing where, since I started the blog over 10 years ago, I've never missed a single month of releasing an article. And so now that I'm so busy these days, I have a notification on the last day of each month that write something. And so I started writing this. I wrote it maybe in 30 minutes, and just a brain dump of what I think GA4 is what I think the core problem of GA4 is, which, spoiler alert, it's not the missing features, it's the lack of community around it. And so yeah, it was a filler article. And so I'm kind of, I don't know if I'm happy that it got attention. I'm just fun to see how people react to it, and kind of boils down to some people really piling their hate on GA4, which I certainly didn't intend the article to inspire, but you do you. Some people are peddling their wares. Of course, I'm kind of happy that it didn't become like a stop using GA and use this instead, because that's a completely different discussion again.
I saw one of those.
Yeah, I saw one as well, and hopefully
It
they.
was so
Yeah,
like
it was. I didn't. That again brought to
I think
me.
we're talking about the same one.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
reminded me again why LinkedIn is so often such a cesspool.
You know how
It,
hard it was for me
yeah,
not to comment on that?
yeah. Well,
I said, it's not
the
my fight. I told myself,
yeah,
it's
but
not
the
your
good
fight.
thing was that the comment was so condescending that I think that it didn't require any additional elaboration. It was obvious there and then that it was not a good comment. Well, hopefully they learned their lesson and be more civil in the future. So anyway, the article is out and it's got a good traction, for whatever purpose that traction might have. I guess it was just a way for people to relate to one more perspective about GA4. I haven't seen many others talking about the lack of community, but I don't know.
Yeah, nobody does.
I know that it's a sore spot for many. I think we would be in a very different place if we had a more immediate access from the GA4 developers and engineers and product owners and product managers to
Yeah.
interact with the community. It doesn't mean that it would be like, you're using GA4 and you find a bug and you're like, hey, Jack, or whatever the product manager is, please fix this. And they'll be, sure, Julian, I'll fix it right away. That's not
Right
what I
now.
mean with community. What I mean is that, hey, could we maybe brainstorm a little, like,
Yeah.
what is this feature best used for? Could you maybe give us some ideas about the roadmap, and maybe get some feedback loops going on? Because now the feedback loops are only with partners and enterprise customers who get like first dibs. But the wider community of users is I think, as with universal analytics, that's where the kind of breaking developments will happen, with a long tail of free users rather
And they
than the
had
big
people like
spenders.
Krista that were, trailblazing and helping people and
Yeah,
doing content. I mean,
for
she's
sure.
still doing content for GA4, but she's one person, like she cannot do the same thing. And that's
Yeah,
what they need, like people that go and spread the word and teach others. And yeah,
yeah,
it's a total lack. And I feel like right now everyone is just trying to push their agendas, is
yeah.
and it's
It's
sad.
it is. It's not a pleasant, like, right now. We're gonna have to stand this for maybe for over a year, because I think this fact that UA is deprecating isn't such a, we'll still have access to it.
Yeah,
As long as we have access to it, it's going to be difficult to leave it behind. And we'll always be comparing. So I think we're going to have to suffer from this, for another 13 months of this
until
just limbo.
the
Yeah,
turn down. Yeah.
where companies don't know what to do next, and vendors are aggressively pushing their stuff, and that's fine. Like, I understand how the sales machine works. If I were a vendor, I would also be building a strategy around GA4 deprecation, or universal analytics deprecation.
Yeah.
But I think there's a difference between joining in good faith discussions and trying to push your agendas. Like you said, everybody has an agenda here, and that's like really, just doesn't evoke any sympathies from me, at least, and I'm happy to call them out if they do so. But
Yeah, no, but it's super annoying. That's why I've been doing all those urchin posts. Do
yeah,
you do you know how many people thought I was like serious with that? I was shocked.
it's not an absurd idea. Like it's a fully functional analytics tool, and for all, whatever flaws it might have, it collects data and it builds reports. I think for the 99% of analytics users, that's enough.
And I bought the new Apple VR set to see
That
my
would be so
charts.
cool. Like to be able to see charts and cookie pop-ups, like that's the future. That's 2030 right there.
I tweeted about this. That my son's birthday next week. He's turning 12, and I asked him like, "What do you want for your birthday?" And he was like, "I want an Oculus Quest 2. I want an Oculus Quest 2." I'm like, "Hell no, that's expensive." I said, "Let's go to Dracula's castle instead. Have some nice time there. It's beautiful." He was like, "I can do that in 2 minutes with the Oculus. I don't even need to
Yeah,
leave the house." I'm like, "Damn, I cannot even find that one." Because I
yeah,
like, yeah, like this whole VR thing, and it's probably also my fault because I've been making all these jokes with my VR, my PlayStation VR, and the 3D charts. But anyway, yeah, that's what it is. I just really hope that the sense of community will come back,
yeah,
and you know, it also depends on us. But I also feel like because I've seen back in my CXL days, I've seen like that side of the community, which is the one I joined, but the one I joined right now, the way the people are right now that are coming in the community are coming with these
yeah,
agendas, and they're propagating, and they're really, like, in my opinion, deteriorating what you guys built and what we had. It's a very
yeah,
different world for me. And luckily on Measure Slack, and if you want to join Measure Slack, you can find the link, but wait and see if you're going to be accepted.
yeah.
It takes time. Even I got accepted in 3 months, so there's no preferences. uh yeah, so it's I'm happy that at least we have that space, which is not polluted by
Yeah.
what's happening on social media right now, but it's a shame.
It's not with that, but there is certainly a lot of like groupthink in Measure Slack as well, and any private, and even Twitter and LinkedIn. Like, it's the problem is precisely that. Like, these discussions are allowed to happen unabated, which is fine. They don't need
Yeah,
any limitation or restrictions, but like rumors spread like wildfire, and people build up these misconceptions about the platform that
yeah,
those who know about it can't say anything because of NDAs. So just
yeah.
having Google, um, some
Mitigate this
people from
stuff.
Google, yeah, and they don't have to be like, "Hey, come on, this is not how it works." They can just join in those discussions and use regular human interaction skills to explain, like, this is why we developed this, and if you
Yeah,
have other ideas about it, Lynn, I'd love to hear about it. And I know that there are some. I know that, of course, there are Googlers in Measure Slack as well, and they join in some of the discussions, but maybe more around the technical talks, like something is broken, what do I do? And then occasionally you might see a familiar face or two chime in those discussions. But the problem is, I think that we've now had such a long time for GA4 to evolve into what it is, and without Googlers present in the communities, I don't think they want to join us anymore, because these communities are now so well established around
yeah,
this idea that GA4 is not adequate, or it's broken, or it requires more work. I think it's quite intimidating to join those. So
yeah,
that's why, for example, I think that's one of the reasons I think the DevRel team started a Discord community instead, so that they could kind of build something and take charge. But while that's a good idea, that was not what I had in mind when I thought about Google should be joining the community efforts. They shouldn't build a community, because then it will be
yeah,
seen as like they're moderating only the good stuff. We want them to join us where we are, and kind of, yes, there's a lot of work to be done to win the community over at this point, but it's going to be worth it, because if you can get that feedback loop going on with the community, you will be able to build a better tool. I'm absolutely certain of that, and you'll be able to prioritize better.
yeah. And
But I think
educate
yeah.
people better. That's the thing. Talking about community, we also have a guest today,
Yes, my
and
one of
we're
my favorites.
yes, she's so nice. She's like so. I met her in person for the first time. I knew her before, but I just met her in person. It was I think you spoke at GPEC too, right?
Yeah,
In Bucharest. So
years ago.
yeah, and she and Els were there. So Els called me, and I went there in a tank top. I took a selfie with them. I was so inappropriate. And and I went and I took a selfie and I left. But before we introduced our guest and we talked to her, Simo, I think I finally
Oh yeah, that's a tall
nailed
order.
the ad section. In case you don't know what simmer is, you probably if you just opened the TV right now, you know that's a saying. If you just open your TV, let's see.
Yeah, I like it. That's
I
pretty
knew
good.
I knew
That's
this
that's
was
that's getting closer to my jam. Yeah, it's not perfect. You still have some work to do, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
cool.
Yeah, it sounds like I've been listening to a lot of with my son. We're listening to a lot of like old cartoon intros from the 80s and 90s, like DuckTales and Darkwing Duck and Transformers and
DuckTales.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and
Oh
everything.
yeah.
So that sounds like the intro riff to Transformers. Anyway, yeah, Simmer. Oh yeah. Well, we've already talked a lot about Simmer, so I don't think I'm going to say that much more. Except by the time this episode airs, we will have our site published. Our launch discount might be over. I think we're only going to have it for a couple of weeks, and I don't know what Juliana is up to with these update release schedules. But in case the launch campaign is already over, then I'm sorry, but there was a really cool launch campaign. If it's still active, then go and enjoy it. It's 15% off all purchases. Yeah,
If
so
not,
Simmer, technical marketing online courses for people who want to be technical marketers and want to take online courses. That's a
and
circular argument for you to unravel.
and if you're not watching, listening to this
Oh, right, I
podcast,
forgot that. Yeah, you do that this time. You do it.
okay, so if you're an avid listener of this podcast and you would like very much to get a course from Seymour, an individual course, that is, you should go on teamseymour.com and use the coupon code DEVIATE. That's DEVIATE.
Yeah, it's
That's
not
harder
easy.
than it sounds, yeah.
Yeah,
And use it at checkout to purchase an individual course. And then make sure after you take the course, you don't give feedback to Simo because he
yeah. Don't
doesn't
give me
like it.
feedback. And it's minus 10%. That's what the coupon gives.
Cool. So teamseymour.com, DV8.
Yeah, don't give me feedback and feel free to cancel our meeting anytime. That's rules for interacting with me.
Cool.
Please give me
Okay.
feedback and please don't cancel. I was just kidding.
Awesome. Okay, so now our guest today, everyone, is Talia Wolf. She's the founder and CEO of Get Uplift. She is an amazing CRO optimization, landing page optimization expert, and we are gonna get her right now on.
Yay! Yay! We are back with Talia Wolf. How are you?
Good. How
Welcome
are
to
you
the
guys?
show. We are very, very excited about this talk.
Very excited.
And a little silence there, just for emphasis. So yeah, so what have you been? It's been a long time. What have you been up to? You've been in conferences, talking about stuff.
Yeah. I've been at conferences. I've been talking about stuff.
Yes.
I've been growing the agency, working with some awesome clients, producing more courses. A lot's going on. Kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we like last time we talked was like live was years ago, and back then I didn't have courses. I don't think you were doing that much either, and now I think there's a lot of stuff going on that we can certainly talk about. And so talk about Get Uplift first. What are you currently focusing on? Like, what is your major focus? You talk about you have courses and training. You of course do hire your for hire. You can do consultancy work. But what is your focus on? What do you want to do with your time?
What do I want to do? What does Get Uplift do?
Yes. No, what do you want to do?
Get Uplift itself is focused mostly on agency work and consulting. So we're working with a lot of SaaS companies to optimize their funnels, and we're doing very, very deep research on their clients and understanding their real intent and desired outcomes, and kind of running hundreds of experiments for them when possible.
Wow.
Yeah, it's super fun and complex, because we used to do a ton of e-commerce, and we still do e-commerce because we get to choose. But SaaS has become like our bread and butter the past 2 years, I'd say. And it's so complex because you have to understand the entire business, and it's not just, oh, let's change this button, but it's really understanding pricing and how, everything basically. So the entire business and their North Star. And on the other hand, what I'm doing a lot of is training. So I'm doing a lot of training in my courses, teaching people, speaking on stage, and really just focused on growing that. And also, I've been thinking for about a year now, because I feel like the thinking part is done and I should actually do something. But for a year now, I've been talking about a book. Like, I really want to start writing a book. And that's supposed to start happening in 2024. So I guess maybe in 2025 I'll have a book out. But yeah, that's what I'm doing.
What would the book? Is it going to be about emotional marketing? Is it going to be about CRO, landing pages?
Emotional marketing and the connection to CRO and amplifying a business and how it connects to every piece.
Yeah. Wow.
Let's talk a bit
something to
about
look
the
forward to.
emotional marketing part, because I'm excited about this. So for people that are not, into experimentation and optimization and don't have to deal with emotions and just code, but they want to learn more about that, what is emotional marketing?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a process and a methodology I've built over a decade ago. And it was designed out of like, this isn't working. What should I do? So I was dabbling with CRO and optimization over, I think it's like 12 years ago. Damn. And trying to figure out like how to optimize landing pages and whatnot. And, changing elements on a button, on a page didn't help. Like, oh, let's change this to blue. Let's to red. Let's remove a step in the funnel. Those elements didn't actually have any real results. And in order to really start delivering results for my clients, I wanted to understand, how do I do that? And that was when I understood that the most important thing in order to increase conversions is to understand how people make decisions. Because if I can understand how people make decisions, then I can affect their decision-making process and help them choose my clients' products and solutions. And that kind of led me down a rabbit hole of identifying, that essentially all our decision-making in life is based on emotion, and every decision that we make in life is based on emotion. So I went down a rabbit hole, did a ton of research, and started building a methodology to understanding our emotions. So when a client comes to us, we think about their ICPs, their ideal customer profiles, and their audience. What are their emotional triggers? What are the emotional reasons? So the real questions are, why does someone want to buy from us? Not pricing, features, product, but why? What is going on in their life? What is their challenge? What is their pain? And how do they want to feel after finding a solution? And that goes back to not treating customers as age, geographical location, and gender, or browser and device, but treating them as actual people and not machines. So that's kind of like the overview of emotional marketing. But the idea is, once you identify their emotions and their real intent and desired outcome, then it's so much easier to look at a page and go, oh, this isn't converting because we're saying the wrong thing, or we're using the wrong images. This isn't relatable in any way. The user journey makes no sense. And then you can really write copy and design and build a whole experience that's based on people's emotions and what they're looking for. So
would this require like a personalization approach? Like, can you have one copy that suits all these emotional profiles that you're working with? Do you think that's even possible?
I think that's such a great question coming from you. Yeah, I
Right,
mean,
because I'm totally
how can I
unemotional Finnish
segment
dude.
and personalize? Let's put this
tell
into
me,
like,
tell me the technical facts right now.
how do I put this into a segment? To be honest, a lot of the times we try to move away from personas and profiles and segments, we use them all the time when we're testing. But the initial work is more around pains. So what we like to do is identify the top 3 pains that are leading people to the website, because what we'll usually find is that those pains, they can be segmented into, John, 37, lives in Chicago, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes you'll see that it's over an arching theme of multiple people from multiple places and different kinds of people that you wouldn't necessarily segment in that way in like an email or a website. So we start with the pains, and you can actually speak to all people on one page, but you don't have to. And you can later segment that. So when you're doing ads and when you're thinking about personalization, you're looking at where people are coming from. So what was their Google search, or what was the ad that they were clicking on in terms of the pain? And then you can serve them on a different landing page with different content. It just gets a little trickier when you're like thinking about a homepage or a pricing page.
Yeah.
And that's when you want to speak to everyone. And you can do that if you build it the right way and you're building different sections and you're sending people to the right direction. So you can do both.
But the kind of emotional journey with a brand starts long before even they hit the landing page. So you see a brand, you see an ad, or you see an ad, you see you do a search, you see an organic result or something, you hear word of mouth. Is there any way you can kind of control for those variables as well? Like if you're just like quote unquote just working on the site and you don't have access to building the ads themselves or the ad copy or the search whatever, or the Facebook organic copies, what is there anything you can do with that? Do you have to work really closely with the agencies who build the ad copies for that emotional marketing to really take its place?
Yeah, for sure. But also I think that the easiest thing to do is look at your traffic sources, right? I mean, if you understand GA4, and you can actually, use that tool. But assuming you can use GA4, you will, which there aren't a lot of people that can do that right now. So assuming you can do that, you would then look at where people are coming from, and you would look at the keywords that they're using, and you would look at why they're coming to the website and what pages they're landing on. So even if you don't have that control over, I don't control ads and I don't control SEO, you can still see where people are coming from and you can see what they're landing on. If someone's landing on a blog post, then they're probably solution aware. Like they're in the midst of figuring stuff out, they're learning, they're trying to see what's the right solution for them. If someone lands on your pricing page, they're most likely product aware or most aware, meaning they're more ready to convert. You can serve them different messages. So you can still use emotional marketing by identifying where they're coming from and what page they're landing on. And again, the homepage is a little trickier because it's like a catch-all and there's a lot of people coming to log in again. So you can segment that, Simo.
I'm learning so much.
But yeah, I mean, you can use emotional marketing, and I think for me, it's the best approach, especially when you don't have a lot of data, especially when you don't have a lot of traffic, because if you're going up against the giants around there that have huge brands and a huge let's say like a huge existence and everyone knows about them. The way to actually stand out and grab people's attention is to make it about the customer and to make it about their pain and what they need. So when you do that, you stand out. So you can do it in various ways.
Just follow up on that with the big brands, like the huge established brands. Do you think they actually have a disadvantage here because people have so entrenched opinions and emotions about them? So no matter what you do with them, GA4 is a great example. We're talking about GA4, and Google has a reputation, and so it feels like whatever they do with GA4 at this point, the emotions that we feel when we use the tool are kind of corrupt already. Versus a brand that's not as established, that doesn't have the emotional baggage, that doesn't have the technical debt, that doesn't have the huge sprawling legacy, they could be much more agile with that as well. Do you think so? Big brands are established, but are they disadvantaged as well?
100%. I literally just had this conversation with a client yesterday. We were talking about their pricing page, and the first thing they do is they open 5 different tabs and they're like, look what this company's doing, look what this company's doing, and all the biggest companies. I'm like, they can do that because everyone knows them and no one gives up about like they're just going to convert anyway. It doesn't matter anymore. You can't go to these like huge brands that are well known and say like, but look at what they're doing. They're doing it because they can and they don't care anymore. Like it doesn't actually matter. And I think that the smaller brands, they have the agility and the opportunity to test things, to change things, and to speak to people as people. Whereas like in larger enterprises, there's so much, politics. There's so many silos. There's so many things going on. You can't actually leverage it because everyone has like, nope, brand guidelines won't let you do that. Or you can't say that word. And that makes them, that puts them in a position that even if we would go in there and like do this amazing research and say, look, you're saying this, but you should be saying that, it would take like 6 months to get out. While I could go to a smaller company and say, you know what, you should be saying this and you should be, this is the customer journey. And they could turn that over in like 2 weeks and they're done and they're out and they're standing out. So I think emotional marketing is that Swiss Army knife where you can just like do it. And you don't have to have, $1 million in your bank to do it. You just have to do the research and actually go to the foundations.
That's so true.
I know.
Juliana, you're back.
I have a
This
leading
is
question.
dropping truths.
Yeah, bombs, truth bombs.
Truth bombs for sure.
I could name the podcast episode Truth Bombs. I'm very good at podcast name, by the way, with episodes names. I have a leading question and then I have a selfish question. So the leading question is to my selfish question is it's like the classic causation versus correlation thing. Like it's very easy for us to say that females from Detroit that go to the gym are the best audience
I know
that we
those.
can use.
I know them.
I know versus understanding why people buy. And I think a lot of companies don't want to go deeper into the why because it requires a lot of work. And it requires, it's and I'm very pissed off. And when I met you and Els in Bucharest, if you remember, I was telling you like experimentation is not just fucking A/B testing. It's also research. It's also all the stuff that you do to define the problem. And the Simo, you might like this, but like also when we do research, we also have problem statements. Like we do that. We have we state problems. So I wanted to ask you, like, I have a lot of enterprise clients, which is fun and not fun sometimes. But how do you sell research? And I know this is like, how do you sell it?
That's
help
good.
me, help me.
Oh my God. There's like so many pieces to what you just said in like that one sentence, because first of all, conversion optimization isn't about changing elements on a page. It's about solving problems. So you have to solve clients' problems. And I think what usually happens for us when we're working with enterprises is that I treat it, and I hope my clients aren't listening to this, but I treat this like an emotional targeting research, right? Someone comes with a problem, but then I ask myself, so someone comes in and they're like, we need a real process for CRO. I'm like, okay, but is that the real pain? And then I'm like, okay, what is the emotional trigger for this? Why are they actually reaching out? And usually it's because there's silos in the organization. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've done research and then someone goes, product marketing did something similar last year. I'm like, what? Where has this been? But what's really interesting, I think, with enterprise is that usually the real pains are the silos and the inability to go deep into strategy.
Yeah.
Because everyone wants to execute and there's backlogs and everyone's like working over these sprints and no one's looking right and left and they're like just execute and it takes like 3 months to like change a header on a page. So for us, I think one of the biggest selling points is always the idea of let's get everyone on the same page on my end, because you've got marketing saying one thing, you've got growth saying another thing, you've got your paid media people are talking about something completely different, product marketing is talking about features no one knows about, you've got customer success that are trying to upsell people with emails that don't match the people we're speaking to. It's not product led, you're speaking to like salespeople who have no idea what they're talking about. So For us, a lot of the times it's talking to those executives in the room and saying, let's get everyone on the same page. Let's
Yeah.
actually define. And a lot of the times they'll say, well, we have all this. We know who our ICPs are. We know who these. I'm like, great, fantastic. Give us everything. Throw everything at us. Let us see what you have. Let us see what's missing. And then let's not just have the research, but let's translate it into action. And that action can be, on one hand, it could be like cards for salespeople. So, like, what do you say? Here's the 3 things that are stopping people from actually converting with you today. Here's what you should say to them on the phone. Or it could be, here are the top messages you should be using in your FAQs, or you should be saying this in email, or you should be doing this when you're doing customer success. So we translate that into, here's the research, but here's the applicable part of it. Now your sales team should watch this video of me explaining who these people are,
Yeah.
why they're not buying from you. So for me, I'm always attaching it to that. And I got to say, the other additional part, so you start with, okay, let's get everyone on the same page because everyone feels the pains of silos. Then it's, let's turn this, everything that you have, into actual action. And the third part is, let's look at your competitors. They're all doing it. They're not necessarily doing it, but it's good to say, like, oh, you see, this person is leveraging experimentation. This person is leveraging personalization. They're doing that because they did the foundation. And like, going back to your original question, like, no one actually wants to do the research. That's because it's so much easier to pull up a heat map and like, look at all these nice red dots. No one wants to do the actual work, but that is an advantage for you, because then you can say, cool, nice heat map. Let's do this. Let me ask people just this one question. Let me just interview 5 people. That little piece really helps to kind of weave through everything and bring everyone together. But yeah, silos. I mean, we've got a client we've been working with for 2 years, an enterprise, that you get in more and more into the business, and they're like, I'm meeting new people. They're all doing similar research. They don't know that we did the research. There's a lot of,
But those are like organization politics as well, and sometimes it's just impossible to fight with them. I have like that really resonates with me because one thing that I've always believed in is like the fluency of communication within our organization. It just fixes everything. Like if people talk to each other and they have transparency and they have knowledge sharing practices and everybody knows what was done over there and what was done over there, things work better. And the one success that I had working with these super monolithic old organizations was not try to change the organization overnight, but take a small part of it, turn that into a perfect machine, and then do a case study and scale that out. You know, we managed to do this with the digital sales team. Let's try it with the digital product team next. Let's try it with marketing. Then we can go upwards in the echelons. So it was like, I completely understand the pain points, and I can even imagine that we were working with analytics, which is kind of black and white. It's engineering. It's very much technical implementation work. I can even imagine that we were having tough discussions. I can imagine what they would have been like if we talk about research and personas and qualitative stuff. The discussions would have been even more complicated.
There's a lot of opinions. And for us, when we come in as an experimentation arm, when you come out and say what you're doing right now isn't good, here's what you should be doing, you're hurting a lot of people. You're bruising a lot of egos. The designer, the copywriter, the content person, the person that ran the ads, the CMO, like everyone feels that it makes them look bad. So a lot of my work, we call ourselves a psychologist, because ultimately a lot of the work is just amplifying your clients and showing them that it's not us. We're just showing you the way. You can still do it. I'm just showing you how to do it in a better way. But yeah, it's a lot of politics.
I love that point, because it's so easy to, you never know what the baggage is you're up against. Like you can say the most self-evident thing to you as an expert. Like you can immediately, when you land on a site and you see that there's something wrong with it, you can say it immediately, you have to fix this. Well, they might have, 10 years of reasons why they have it like that. And you don't know what that reason is. And so you'll be insulting people, you'll be obstructing organization politics. So I think it's a good idea to do that. The psychologist aspect is really good. So you first have to kind of probe their minds and see what's making them tick, and what the underlying reasons are before you assert yourself, and maybe by kind of win them over first before becoming the stern kind of.
And that's
And
the emotional
it's very
targeting.
elegant.
Yeah,
But it's
exactly.
very elegant, unlike us when we see a Google Tag Manager container with 356 tags that have no business of being there, and you start talking shit. What is
That
this?
didn't-
What is this? We don't do.
Hey, I have a great example of that. I was had a somebody in Measure Slack ask me for help, and I asked for access to their container, and they gave it to me, and I looked at it like, this is like the worst shit I've ever seen. And then I started looking who did this, and like 2 years ago, it was me.
Oh my God, that's
It was my shit. Yeah, so that was that was the worst self-own ever. I'm really happy I didn't make a fuss about it. I just kind of I just seethed inside, and then I fixed it. Um,
oh my
yeah.
God.
So anyway, that can happen too. So it's always good, like before you start pointing fingers, is to kind of look at the situation, try to understand why we are in this place before kind of asserting yourself as the.
What do
Yeah.
you
One
think?
thing.
Also, well, we're
No, this
just
is getting
excited,
messy.
all of us.
Julian, it's you
Yeah, I
now.
will.
Julian, it's you now.
No, no, it's fine. It's fine. You can go, and I'll go after. I will edit
I had
it.
a
I'm
really
a very
stupid
good
interjection.
editor.
We can cut this out, but I had an interjection. I'll say it later because I have something I want to congratulate Talia about. But we
Do
can do that
it.
later. Well, Talia, one thing I want to say is, and you said this in a completely in passing, but just being the kind of nerd that I am, I picked it up. But nobody does this. But you said conversion optimization, but you didn't say conversion rate optimization. And that's like a hat tip to you because I hate that term. Like,
Yeah.
we don't optimize rates, we optimize processes. And conversion rate optimization was always like the biggest Goodhart's law fail in the world. Like, if you're
Agreed.
optimizing metrics, you're just screwing things up. Is this a conscious choice? Because I see in your copy you're doing that as well. That's a
Yeah,
really,
no,
really good thing to start pushing for. Yeah.
I think it's yeah, it's a conscious choice. I'm not going to get into it too much, but yeah, I'm really, I have a lot of conversations about this where I'm trying to explain to a lot of companies where they see CRO, experimentation, as a tactic. So they view it as like,
Yeah.
oh, if we want to do this, then we can do some PPC, we can do some SEO, we can do some CRO. But when I think about it, and you do too, I know this because we've had this conversation, and many people, very smart people around me understand that experimentation isn't a tactic. It's the way you should be doing, like leading your entire company. The entire business should be around experimentation, and it all starts and ends with that. So it's, what I mean by that is that it's not about changing elements, which is what I said before. It's experimentation can be on so many levels of conversion optimization. Ultimately, you're trying to get more sales, you're trying to, retain customers. There's just so many pieces to it, and it's not just, okay, let's run a test. Or as you were saying, Juliana, it's not, just A/B testing. When I say
Yeah.
experimentation or when I say CRO, I'm thinking about everything, like heuristics analysis and research and speaking to people and
Yeah.
all that good stuff.
It's so hard to deal with this because it happens to me, and I made like a sort of a post about this the other day. I rant a lot on LinkedIn. We'll get fired at some point for it, I know it, but it's fine. But it's what pisses me off a lot. I have clients that follow different people on social media, and then they come
Oh,
to me and say, I saw this test and I think we should do it too. And I'm like, who did you see this? Where did you find this? Or like another, oh, I have a great question for you. Sorry, ADHD. I have a great question for you. Okay. Oh my God. Okay, so I oh,
There's a
this
lot
is
of
gonna
hype
be
now. There's a lot of build up here.
what is the question?
okay,
Tell
okay,
me the
okay.
question.
Okay, so the question is this. Do you agree with ROI calculation for tests? Because I think it's such a bad way to train. Thank you. I really appreciate that you don't agree with it. Okay,
Can we
so I
just like end it here? I don't want to talk.
Let's not bum us out.
no, but listen. So I have issues. I had the specific. Oh, can I talk about this? Okay, so let's
Yes.
just say you are a a company is selling something, and you have an optimization person that works for you and helps you, and says, "Hey, company, don't use this red banner on the landing page because it's an accessibility issue. It interrupts the scroll. There's a lot of things for why you shouldn't use this red banner." And then the client says, "Well, like, I need to see an ROI if I make the change of the banner." But the problem is that, yes, so the problem is that there's I'm gonna have to edit this. Okay, so the problem is that there's a lot of agencies and people on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on everywhere that are promoting an ROI calculation for A/B testing. And A/B testing, it's an instrument of learning. It's a tool of learning. It's not a tool of revenue. Of course, it would lead to revenue. It would lead with changes. It would lead to innovation. But I see so many people that are promoting this ROI calculation, and it's driving me fucking insane. So what are your
So
thoughts on that? I'm sorry.
I have so many thoughts. First of all, I'll say that when you subscribe to my email list, the
Which I did.
first email you get from me, the first email is best practices suck. That's how that's my opening thing. I cannot. Yeah, that's a whole topic. So anyone who says to me, "But that person," or "I saw this," I'm like, nope. I don't want to hear it. Is it based on your customers? Is it based on your research? Is it specific to your audience? Is this going to help? So no. Here's my thing about like ROI calculations and stuff. I mean, yes, there's a lot of people on LinkedIn that have time for LinkedIn. I'm so sorry. I don't have time for LinkedIn. It's terrible. I have someone doing LinkedIn, which is great. But there's also a lot of people that are offering CRO services for $2,000 a month. That's what you're going to get. But what I do want to say is I think it's just a matter of shifting the conversation. Because again, it goes back to what is experimentation? What is CRO? What are you trying to achieve? Again, we work with various different companies, and a lot of the time we'll run an experiment and the variant will, not outperform. So control will outperform. Okay. And then we'll have a series of questions that we would ask ourselves. Was this change strategic? If it doesn't lead to immediate conversions, could it lead in addition? What other things could we add to it in order to do it? And how better did control perform? Because a lot of the times you'll see that it's exactly the same, or that, okay, control outperforms a little bit more, but there's strategic thinking behind this change that is worth the change and doesn't immediately show you ROI, as you were saying, but could in the future. So for example, removing a red banner or removing a carousel from your header and the homepage might not immediately improve conversions, but it will increase your customer journey. It will get more people, for example, in page depth going forward, because now they can see what they actually need to click on and they can go to the next pages. So you get more people visiting more pages. We recently did a menu test, a navigation test for one of our SaaS clients. We didn't see any increase in conversions. We changed the whole navigation, but we did see a huge increase in people going where we want them to go. They were actually going to the pages. So that was a strategic change. We were like, this is worth keeping because they're going where we want to go. We can optimize the next pages. We can work on optimizing additional things in navigation to increase conversions. But ultimately, we got what we wanted, which is getting people to read the content that we want them to read and get to the pages we want to, and then we can optimize those. So I just think when you add a calculation to that kind of thing, you're doing it on a superficial level and you're not looking at the business, which is what CRO is about. Conversion optimization is about. I opened with this, right? This is what I said, like a whole business thing. You have to think about the whole business and understanding it. It's not a metric.
Can I kind of try to push back a little on that? Because I'm thinking of how do you prevent it from turning into when your tests are successful, it's because it was good test design and you were really good at it. And when they are not successful, it was because you had an even better conversion in mind down the road that just wasn't displayed by the test. How do you prevent that from becoming like or let me, I don't want to put you in that, maybe turn like this. Do you ever, when you have a successful experiment, do you ever consider that as well? Like, in addition for the experiment being good, they also went further into the pages, or are you more motivated to look for those secondary goals when the test fails versus when it's successful?
We're always looking at all the goals. We're looking at the main goals and we're looking at secondary goals. As an example, we ran a pricing page test for one of our SaaS clients lately, and we saw conversions go up dramatically. And we were like, this is incredible. But I actually asked before we push this change to 100% of the traffic, I wanted to see what plans people were choosing. And what I noticed was that, yes, more people were converting, but they were choosing the starter plan and not the plan. So a lot of people that used to choose the more advanced plan and were paying more when now choosing the starter. So then I said, let's pause this for a second. Let's have a conversation. What is our real goal? Do we want to just have more conversions, or do we want to have more revenue? And that is a conversation we need to have. So should we push this and then optimize with email and get them, upsell them? Or do we lose a big piece by saying, well, there's more, monthly, MQLs now, but less PQLs? So it just really depends on what you are measuring as a company. And I totally agree with you. You don't want to get into a point where like, well, it failed, but we saw on the secondary page that it's okay. That's not what I meant. So thanks for calling me out on that for sure. My main thing was more to say that it's not so straightforward. And you can't just look at a metric as like yes or no, but you need to be looking at the whole user experience, which is why I mentioned the pricing page experiment, because ultimately we decided to revert back and try something different because we wanted more people to choose the advanced and the yearly plan. And what we ended up doing is, yes, more starter plans, but also monthly. So they're more likely to cancel. So there's layers to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it also means that you can't do experimentation in a vacuum. Like if you're only looking at Google Optimizer, rest in peace soon, but whatever you're using, if you're just looking at that, because that's where you write your conversions to, and that's where you'll get the data. If you're just looking at that, you're only looking at a very single tunnel vision look at your experiments. But if you export that data to analytics or whatever analytics tool you use, and you start building those segments, then you can look at the entire journey. So I think that just elevates the importance, because no one gets experiment design right on the first try. They have to look beyond, like they have to learn about it. Again, it boils down to understanding what makes the company tick and what its users are. The emotional marketing is all drawn back to this.
Yeah, because people lack context and they are just trying to plaster stuff that I was saying this, just because somebody said it on LinkedIn that you should do this doesn't mean you should do it. You have to understand the context, because
it means that you never should do it if someone says it.
You should never. Yeah, exactly. Like everything is just a great.
You see a comment on LinkedIn, nope.
Yes. Unless it's from Juliana or Simo.
Exactly. Or Talia.
Well,
Talia, when she visits LinkedIn.
You see something on LinkedIn from me.
It's not Talia, it's her double.
And also one thing with testing is also like sometimes the conversion is not necessarily tied to revenue. It's just you want to improve user experience. You want to make sure that people have the ability of doing what you want them to do. And like this is a thing that I remember, if I was telling you and else, that I was always not talking about UX and usability, because like it's not as fashionable as testing and getting all these wins and whatever. And I had Kelly Wortham that told me to please stop, never say that, because she said you're disrespecting people that work into this
gender thing. That's a gender thing. We get into this conversation because that's like marketer versus growth marketer, and that's like it's sexy to talk about metrics, but it's not sexy to talk about emotion. The first time I got on stage, there were 1,400 people on stage, and there was a guy that was on before me, and he was talking data and stats and whatever. And someone left a comment in the like Slido thing. I was like, typical, a woman talking about emotion. And I was like,
oh man, really? Oh, that's stupid.
But this is a gender thing. So we're not going to get into that rabbit hole, but yes, UX.
No, let's get into that if you want.
No, but like UX and stuff is not as sexy as like GTM. Let's talk about segmentation.
And not go to market, not Google Tag Manager, right?
I feel so called out here.
No.
Not at all.
No, I get it. No, worries.
it's just, yeah, it's very hard. And like, because again, like what I'm pissed off is just there has to be some sort of curating all this content, because people come into this industry or have been into this industry and still have to deal with people being exposed to all sorts of crap. And then they want to do that, and you explain to them that, hey, this doesn't make sense, like, maybe let's do research and see if this fits. And then you're already dead because they want to test a video.
Every
Mm.
time you say that, so this just reminds me of XKCD, where he has the little thing where his wife says to him, "Are you coming to bed?" And he goes, "Someone's wrong on the internet."
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I
Yeah.
can't yet. Someone's wrong on the internet. Like, this is,
Yeah.
as a case as old as time. People talk
Yeah.
shit online,
Mm.
and the people that are actually doing the work are busy doing the work, and that's
Yeah.
fine. I mean, ultimately, I think this is that's the way of it, right? There's people that
Yeah.
talk, and there's people that
Mm.
do the work. And I'm always happy to learn from people and read about interesting things. But I think if you really care about experimentation, if you really care about conversion optimization, you need to be thinking about the strategy, and you need to be thinking about the foundations of
Yeah.
things versus just going to your comfort zone, which is metrics and
Mm.
measurement and segmentation. And I mean segmentation in like a very tactical
Mm.
way. Um, you need to be comfortable going, stepping out of your comfort zone and thinking about who are you actually serving, what are the real problems that you're trying to solve, what are the desired outcomes of these people, and how can you help them, because your role is to
Mm.
actually help them achieve their goals.
Yeah. And
Which
we
reminds
like,
me
let's
that we have
call
to
us.
look at your
Yeah.
website.
Yeah, for sure.
Where's that
But,
website?
but also let's call a spade a spade. Like, if you're looking at data and doing metrics and building segments and building reports, you're not doing growth marketing. You're not doing advisory work. You're not doing strategy. You're looking at metrics and building reports, and that's a
Yeah.
completely fine thing to do. But just don't claim that it's the same thing as interacting with companies that are trying to build their products and services. You're
Bingo.
literally building reports. You're not doing actual analysis or growth marketing. So I think that's also where it's we have to go to this a bit, because for me it's always been so easy to hide behind the numbers and just work and just type stuff, because that I don't have to tackle the super complicated questions of human interaction and organizational legacies and growth pains. And I have such an incredible respect for both of you, because you're doing this stuff and I can just enjoy hiding behind the numbers, but I would never ever have the balls to claim that what I'm doing is somehow comparable in the way that the goals that we are looking for. We are completely different goals. So this idea that when women talk about emotional marketing, well, that's flawed on so many levels, but it's also flawed in that I am implicitly comparing that my work with data is somehow the same thing, which it isn't. It answers a completely different question.
People are more comfortable with like specific, like, just give me a metric, just give me a number, give me
Yeah.
Yeah.
something I can go with. And I think that's, it's life, right? People don't want
Mm.
uncertainty. Qualitative data ultimately is, here's our best analysis of everything that we've learned online, and it's an educated guess, and we're going to
Mm.
test it now, and we're going to see how it's working, versus this is a metric, we're seeing these numbers, and it's easier. And I don't necessarily agree with you, Simon, because I really see, and you and I have had these conversations over the years, where you really do see human interaction, you really do think
Mm.
about it, and you care about it. So in no way am I talking about you in this way. I just think that a lot of people hide behind the
Mm.
numbers because they're unable to even see the importance of the
Mm.
people.
Yep.
Um,
And
Yeah.
so
those people are not necessarily in data, they're people in conversion optimization, right?
yes, and
Yeah.
that's the
And I
thing.
know exactly what you're talking
And
about,
who are
sadly.
the people? Who are the people, by the way, that are incredible? They're the people that understand human interaction and can do data. Because when
Mm.
I hire analysts, data analysts, and the technical people, I don't look for technical skills. That I can send them to a course. I don't care about that. I look to
Mm.
see, are they asking the business questions? Are they
Yeah.
asking human questions? Are they thinking about the people behind the screen? How to pull a report in GA4? Well, there's enough courses in that. I mean, that's not a thing. So I think in every single person that you hire and you think about, ultimately you want to hear them talking about the people and you want to hear them talking about human interaction. Everything else can be taught and learned. And
Yeah.
That's so true.
And if they want to learn more, they can sign up to your newsletter, right?
For sure.
Thanks for the plug.
Yeah. This is how affiliate marketing works, folks. You don't see the envelope passing from one person to the next after this talk. So, Talia, this has been such a fascinating discussion, and as always, feeling humbled by all the stuff that we learn and get to reevaluate about ourselves when we talk with you. We are going to start wrapping up. Where can people find you?
We have a blog on getuplift.co. There's so many resources, so many free guides. Someone said this to me the other day, like, you give out so much free content. I'm like, yeah, I just want people to get better. So we have like so many guides and so much content for days to come. So please go download, enjoy. You can also interact with me on Twitter, which is Talia GW. And we have a Facebook group called We Optimize, which you can also join if you're into Facebook.
I'm there.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
And your newsletter. And your newsletter.
Yes. Well, when you go to our blog, you can sign up to the newsletter. And if you try and download anything, you have to sign up. So you will definitely subscribe. We have a free email course that teaches you emotional marketing. And but please join my newsletter for sure.
And if you have a chance of catching Talia live on stage, it's always worth it. So take a look at the conferences. Do you have a list of speaking engagements somewhere, or
your next ones?
No, I don't. I should probably put one together.
This is a tip. It might help people who are emotionally looking for your speaking engagements. So I can
copied
optimize
that from Simo.
Yeah, I cut back on speaking, so I need to. Yeah, I mean, I have a few coming up. I might be going to Mexico, so that's going to be fun.
Ooh, right.
London and Berlin and Sweden, maybe. We'll see.
Nice.
Sounds good.
I'll post stuff on that.
Cool.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. This was fun, and you can see me and Simo are fighting over you right now. So there you go.
Yeah, we're jinxing all the time, overlapping talk. That's we have to get like a razor. No, we don't actually. This is perfect. This is perfect the way it is. We're not going to optimize this
conversation.
Anymore. It is. It's real stuff.
You both start at the same time and you want to talk about the same thing. So that shows how in sync you are and you're like in the same mind space. It's lovely.
We have similar birthdays. Right, Simo?
We do?
I think so. Yeah.
July.
You're just missing me. I can be the triangle. I'll be the third. So like,
I think that would be cool. Yeah. Season 3, Talia Wolf joins us as a co-host.
Yes. I want to do that.
I wasn't joking. We're for sure. Now the writing's on the wall now. The writing's on the wall now.
I'm in.
Cool. Yes, perfect. We have another host. Hey, we got to start wrapping up. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care and talk to you soon.